There's an underrated, very untalked about foot technique that really is the key to any fast playing. This technique is completely independent of heel toe or whatever slide technique you use, and it will actually make you better at either of those methods. Furthermore, this technique will work whether you're a heel up player or heel down player. If you've ever been frustrated or unsatisfied with your right foot's bass drum performance, then this video is for you. Hey everybody, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer, where we're all about learning the core drumming skills that help you make music faster. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I am going to go ahead and spill it and tell you exactly what this underrated technique is before we go any further into this video, and that is your big toe. That's it. I'm going to spend the rest of the video explaining to you why your big toes are so important for bass drum technique and even hi-hat technique, and how we as drummers can use our big toe to its maximum ability so we can play faster, better, etc., etc. So I'll teach this technique to you, and we'll also watch some footage of some fast doubles and slow motion footage as well, so you can actually see what role the big toe is playing when it comes to playing fast doubles on kick drum. What's really cool about your big toe is that it's actually the most capable part of your foot, and if you think about it, you use it to walk, run, stand, balance, and you can even stand, like if you're standing on your toes, well, you're standing on your big toes. They will support the weight of your entire body, which is really impressive. It's these tiny little toes, and they're that strong. I was doing a little bit of research on this for this video, and I found this quote on wonderopolis.org. When you walk, your toes maintain contact with the ground about 75% of the time. That's pretty interesting, and it makes me wonder what percentage of the time should our toes be making contact with the foot plates of our pedals while we're playing. It's also really interesting. I found a quote by a physical therapist and yoga expert. I'm probably mispronouncing her name, Laura Hyman. I'm putting links, by the way, to these articles below, so you can go check this out too. She says 80 to 90% of the control of your foot comes from the big toe. So there again, very interesting, because we as drummers talk about control a lot. So what exactly does this mean for us? What does this mean for us as drummers? How can we actually use our big toes more? Well, chances are this is just going to be a subtle adjustment in your playing, because if you have a big toe, you're already using it. That's like me telling you, hey, when you walk, use your big toe more. Because you're already using your big toe. It's already a crucial part of how you walk and how you balance, like we're talking about. And so you're already using it in your playing. And so this might be a subtle technique adjustment, but I've noticed in my playing, and I've also noticed especially with my hi-hat technique, that my big toe is actually a crucial part of it. And there's a chance that you're not actually using it as much as you could use it. So if you're not accustomed to using your big toe, or you feel like you don't really have control over it, practice barefoot, or at least just with socks on. Take your shoes off and get used to the feeling of your big toe on the pedal. Think about that pressure point. And like talking about in the previous video, burying the bass drum beater versus bouncing it. If you're going to bury it, you've got to use that big toe to really get that pressure down there. Just like if you're going to close your hi-hats tightly, you've got to use your big toe, because that's a very strong, important part of your foot. And your big toe is also flexible and can move on its own. So if you think about it, if you're going to play something quick, it's just like this motion here, where your whole foot, imagine my arm is the foot could be going down, and the big toe could also be going down too, so you can get extra motion, extra speed. Or maybe foot comes down and then big toe plays the second note if you're doing doubles. It's a lot like a whipping motion. If you're using your arm and your wrist, and the stick is moving loosely in your hand as you play, you've actually got sort of a triple point kind of thing going on here, where a little bit of arm motion, a little bit of wrist motion, a little bit of stick in the hand translates to a whole lot of motion and a whole lot of power. And so you're able to increase your foot's power by enabling that big toe to help you out. And so this might sound weird, but make a strong mental connection with your big toe. If you haven't practiced sitting here wiggling it, I know this sounds ridiculous, but do it. If you haven't gotten used to sitting here wiggling it and making that mental connection and feeling that pressure point on the foot plate, on both foot plates, both feet, do it. Get used to how that feels and putting that pressure on there, because we're going to use that. So why is all this important? What is the application? How can we further practice this? How can we incorporate this into our playing beyond just sitting here and talking about how important it is? Well, to a degree, in order to play kick doubles, you're using your big toe. Depending on exactly your positioning on the foot plate or how loud or soft you're playing, you may use more or less of that big toe, but you're definitely going to use it on your left foot also, to really put the pressure on the hi-hat to clean up your playing over here. So I'm just going to show you, kind of break down what I'm usually doing when I'm playing doubles. Basically, my first note is coming from this part of my foot. I'm playing my first note just using my whole foot, and this applies to whether or not you're playing heel up or heel down. If you're playing heel up, there's your first note. Heel down, here's your first note. It's literally the same thing. Like I said previously, it does not matter whether or not you play heel up or heel down. I don't care. But then the second note, that's where the big toe comes in, especially if you decide to bury as you're playing this. If you're going to bury the beater on that second note, then you have to use your big toe. You have no choice. Otherwise, you can't actually get the pedal to actually bury. And so that's basically what's happening. Now, if you're bouncing, that might be a little less big toe, but you're still using it. I'm still thinking, okay, foot toe, foot toe, foot toe, which is kind of the concept behind heel toe. We're not talking about that today, but that's kind of the idea, where you're using one part of your foot for the first note, and then you're using your extremity, your big toe, for the next part of the note. Very similarly to how we might play doubles, where we're using our wrist, downstroke for the first note. Rebound is creating that second note, but we're using our fingers to strengthen it. So it's kind of like wrist fingers. Same way, foot, toe, foot, toe. So I hope that makes sense. And you may be at this point thinking, Steven, you're crazy. How much does the big toe have to play into this? Well, let's slide the foot off a little bit. I feel like I lose control. If I move my foot to the left of the foot plate, so my big toe is no longer on it, that means I'm literally just using like this part of my foot to play. And I can still do it. I can still play a double. But it's hard to play it as fast, and I feel like I'm losing control over it. Meanwhile, I move my foot back over, and even if I'm not consciously thinking, okay, big toe, even if I'm not thinking about that, even if I'm not consciously thinking about big toe, suddenly the doubles get better because the big toe is there. Do that yourself. Try that. Try moving your foot off so your big toe is no longer on the foot plate, so it's just off the edge, and play a couple of doubles. To me, they feel a whole lot heavier, not as light and effortless. Then I move my foot onto here, big toe on the foot plate. Suddenly it's a lot lighter. And that's when I realize how much my big toe is actually playing into this. So yes, this is a subtle technique, but actively thinking about it is going to help you play these doubles even more effortless. So even if you don't see a lot of big toe motion from my foot from the camera, it's happening, and the big toe is a crucial part of this pressure point. Now, for me, I don't like playing with just socks on because I feel like my feet are sliding on the pedals too much and I start losing control. So I feel like I can play doubles a lot more with these shoes on, which kind of leads us into another point I wanted to make. I like practicing with thinner soled shoes so that my big toe can feel the pedal more. These shoes were great. These were my old Vans. They were super thin, and you can see here, my big toe is actually about to wear through them, which is pretty funny. I have big toes, and I definitely walk with a lot of pressure on my big toes. So you can see that in the way I wear through shoes. But I like thinner soled shoes, and I love these just house shoe slippers. And these actually aren't super thin. They're very sturdy. These are some good ones. I definitely recommend finding a thinner soled shoe that you enjoy playing drums in and practicing in. Yeah, I don't really wear these to the gig. I've got my Vans that, I don't have them down here. I have my newer Vans that are a little bit thicker, more comfortable for walking and running and whatnot, but a little bit thicker. Those are still good for playing drums. Really anything thinner than a running shoe or a walking shoe is great, but I especially like house shoes, just slippers. These are great. These are my all-time favorite for playing kick drum, and I feel like I get the most control when I've got that rubber to keep my foot in place, and I'm still feeling the big toe pressure even through these. And so I actually feel like I can play doubles faster and much more controlled when I've got these shoes on. Get comfortable, either maybe barefoot is your thing, maybe socks is your thing, but you probably want a little bit of grip, so find like a rubber soled but thin shoe. House shoes are great. They don't cost much. Just get you a pair of slippers, and that can help a lot with this. If you feel like you are having any trouble, that could be your simple solution. So now let's watch the slow motion footage. And for the slow motion, I'm gonna include just my socks on, so maybe you can see my toes better. And then with my shoes on, because I feel like I play these better with my shoes on because I need a little bit of grip to feel like I've got control over the pedal. So I'll do it both ways. One, so you can just see things better. The other, so that I feel like I'm actually playing them better. And like I've been mentioning, this whole big toe thing applies a lot to the left foot, even more so, I think, in a more direct way than it does with the right foot. Because if you're going to play very tight chicks on the hi-hat, you've got to lift up your heel and press your big toe in. All that pressure needs to be focused through your big toe. Play it tight. Now, if you want a looser chick sound, that's cool, that's lighter sounding. Actually, it's heavier sounding because of less pressure. You get a thicker note that way, versus a tight with all the pressure through the big toe. But if you're playing something like, in order to go cleanly tight right after that open note, you've got to press in with your big toe. And so there has to be that pressure there. So that's something to think about. That same big toe thing we've talked about here, and feeling that as a pressure point, do the same thing with your left foot, and that can really clean up your hi-hat playing. That's definitely a discussion for another video, another lesson series, but I just want you to be aware of how important that is there on the hi-hat as well. So to sum all of this up, your big toe is more important and probably underrated than you think. So use it, make a conscious effort to make the mental connection with your big toes, form pressure points there, feel your big toe pressing onto the pedal, and use that to increase your control and even increase your speed. Practice quick doubles on the kick, letting your big toe play that second note. And to really emphasize that, you can bury the beater to really feel that out. And then practice bouncing the beater too, where maybe it's a little more subtle. But also do that challenge where slide your foot off to the left a little bit so big toe's not there, and feel that difference. And if there is a big difference, you'll realize, oh, I've been using my big toe a lot already and I can continue to fine tune it. If there's not a difference, then you probably know, okay, I need to work on my big toe game a little bit. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you out in some way or another. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, a little bit subtle, but sometimes it's those little weird, subtle things that can make a big difference in your playing. So I hope this helped you out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next and last video in this series, where we're talking about some linear foot rudiment patterns that can really elevate your level of right foot independence and even left foot independence, because all of this is only so good if your right foot isn't coordinated. So next week, we're gonna get the feet coordinated. It's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be a lot of fun, so stick around for that. I'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.